Hey guys, I am just going to run through a quick couple features in the RingClone app and just kind of show you how it works. This will be a really short video. I'll just go through some of the basic things here. One of the things you'll see here is that the screen right here, this is just kind of the basic search screen for call recordings. This is the screen that most users would come and interact with. As you can see, it's a pretty straightforward layout. Search parameters on the top, the results, and the call records here in the bottom grid. One thing I want to point out is that whenever our system ingests data from your RingCentral account, we index that data and we make it searchable. So you can search by things like phone number, names, extension numbers, duration, direction, things like that. So retrieving the data after the call is made, it's very easy. The search engine is very fast, it's very flexible. You can just type in your date range and your parameters and search for it. It'll pop up here. I'll just go through a quick example. Date range, going back to April. I'll say my extension and any phone number that includes 1000. And you can see my results come up here. So within here, obviously you can see the call metadata and things like that. But if you wanted to get like the recording, a transcript, log files, anything like that, the key is going to be this files archive column over here on the right. This is going to contain anything that's that has more robust data in it, like a recording or a video or images and things like that. All the icons are color coded. I think based on what I know, you would primarily just be looking at call recordings. They're just about a black icon. You just click on them. You can play it, download it. It's pretty straightforward. One thing I want to point out is that these files that are archived, these are stored in long-term storage. That storage is configurable. You can bring your own data. You can bring, if you have an AWS account or an Azure account or a Google Drive or even like an on-prem server, you can bring that here into the app and plug it in, and our system will use that as the back-end storage for your data. And you don't have to do that. You can just use our app as is, and we will do the storage part also. The only difference between those two different methods is that if you host your own storage, there's like data sovereignty that comes into play there. So if you have to have data stored in a certain location, for example, or if you just wanted to retain ownership of that data immediately without having it hosted on our servers, then you can just plug in your storage that way. The other factor to consider is cost. If you host your own storage, the cost is lower. If we host storage, we charge more, obviously. And obviously if you host storage, you would have a cost on your end, with like your Amazon account or your Azure account or whatever you use, but typically that's lower than what we charge. So it's just really up to you if you want convenience or do you want more control over the storage. At the end of the day, no matter which method of storage you would choose, this functionality right here in the front end in this main portal, as far as the searching, retrieving, downloading, which I'll show here in a second, that would remain exactly the same. There's no difference in functionality. It's just really data sovereignty and cost is the difference there. But speaking of using the front end, obviously you can or listen to your recordings here. You can also download the recordings. You can do them each one individually, or if you needed to download a collection of recordings, for example, if you needed to do an audit on a particular phone number or a particular user over a given date range and you just needed all of those recordings, we have a mechanism that makes that easy. You just click on the download button there on the bottom left. And then here's some options. If you wanted the recordings, that's going to be the content. So it's just as simple as that. Give me a batch download, give me the content, and you give it a file name. It's essentially going to create a zip file with all of the recordings in it, and when you click on that download button, it will pop up here in the top right, and it will start processing, and then you'll be able to kind of see as it's going. And when it's complete, there will be a link. As you can see, like on my previous downloads, you can download these zip files, and there's just the collection of recordings in there. So that's one possibility. If you needed to just download like the metadata, or a report, to be printed out or something like that, and you can download Excel and PDF, and that just includes the metadata, of course, kind of like what you see in the grid here. But those reports do contain a little bit more data, like we get down into the internal IDs and email addresses of users and things like that. So there's a little more data in there. But that's pretty much it. It's a very straightforward interface. You log in. This is the first screen you see. You just punch in your query, get the data you need, and that's pretty much it. I do want to kind of go through the storage portion. If you're not planning on bringing your own storage, then I think we can just there's no need to continue this video, but I will go ahead and continue here in case that is something you're interested in. You configure that here in the archive configuration, and this is what I was talking about, where we have these different options of storage. And so for example, if you have an Azure account, you would click on Azure, and then in your Azure account you would either get like a connection string or a SAS URI, and you would plug it into here, and our system would connect to that. And so each of these different options has their different mechanisms that they connect with. Some are OAuth, some are username and password, things like that. So you would connect to one of these, and then once that is established, you have the option to program our system to determine how that data is going to be stored in your storage. You're essentially creating like a folder template structure for all the files that get stored on your storage server. And so just as an example, if you had multiple sites and you wanted a folder for every site, you could put site name as the top level folder, and then maybe like user underneath that, so each user has their own data in their own folder, dedicated folder, and then maybe a date and time attribute, so it's divided by, in this example, year and month. So this is just an example. You can pull in any of these attributes to build your folder structure, phone numbers, direction, any of these attributes, and then our system will essentially create that structure in your storage. It's just a way to categorize data. It doesn't change the functionality of this app, like I was showing before with the searching and retrieving and reporting. It doesn't change that functionality at all. It's just the back end. It's just a way to organize it. You can leave this all blank if you want to and just store everything in one folder. That's perfectly fine. And then there is also the same kind of thing with file name. There's a file naming convention builder right here also, and so you can configure that in the same way as well. And then there's like types of data, which from what I understand, it's just primarily going to be call recordings, so that's all you would select here. And so once you get that turned on or set up and turned on, it just runs in the background. Every like 5 to 15 minutes, our system will just reach out to your RingCentral account. It will grab data, any new data that it finds in your account, and pull it into the RingClone system, and it'll just do whatever it needs to do, push recordings to your storage. It'll index the search fields and anything else you have configured in our system, and then you just log into the portal whenever you need to retrieve that data. And one thing I did want to point out also is that transcriptions, I think that was brought up in the call as well. So our system we have our own transcription engine also. So, and I know that I think you're looking at RingEX as well, and that does transcriptions. So you can definitely use that still, and our system can import those transcriptions also. Or you can just let our system do the transcriptions. It's just up to you. I'm sure cost is a factor, and then functionality and things like that. But our system produces just a basic transcription. There's a $1 per hour of transcribed audio is our basic cost for that. So total cost would just determine how many calls, what the length of calls are, things like that. And you just come in here, you turn it on or off. You can do transcriptions for call recordings or voicemail or both. There's a couple of other options. NRT mode, that's kind of a special thing. I don't think you guys would really need that. It essentially just makes the transcriptions get produced faster, and usually for archival purposes that's not really that important. There's an extra cost for that, so it's usually not worth it, but you can turn that on if you need to. Speaker recognition, you can turn that on. And then we have these other items where you can capture sentiment. That produces a document that you can view and view the sentiment of the conversations. Name entity capture, that is, it produces searchable tag fields, and I'll go back to the search portal to kind of show what that looks like. It automatically detects certain verbiage inside of the conversation automatically. Things that of importance, like people, places, things, it will extract those out and make those searchable automatically. Numbers, same kind of thing if you wanted to capture all numbers in conversations. And then we get down into more advanced settings here. So if there's certain verbiage, phrases, combination of phrases that you would like to have captured and made as searchable tags for each call record, that's where you can configure this here, and this is in the keyword and pattern recognition and capture. And so essentially this is a list of regex phrases that you can put in here. You can put in as many as you need to, and it uses the regex library. And that library is very robust. It's it's not our proprietary library. It is a library that is used for all sorts of things, and there's tons of documentation out there on how to use it. But you essentially put in here, different patterns of phrases. So this would be, for example, if you wanted to be alerted to certain things, certain patterns of speech being said within conversations, or if you needed to pull out certain things like an account number, you can configure this. I have mine set up to pull out a number following the word account, for example, and you can get even more advanced here, like I have in this one. It's a very complicated regex expression, essentially pulling out anytime a phrase is spoken with the word case and a number either preceding it or following it, within 40 characters, of that word being spoken. Same kind of thing down here with account and social. So you get, like, if someone says my case number is, it would pull out that phrase with the case number, or my account number is, or your account number is, or things like similar to that. It will pull out those numbers, and then those will be searchable within our grid that I was showing to you earlier. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down. I just wanted to kind of highlight what that is. But at the end of the day, this is what it might look like here. As you can see, I have certain phrases and things being pulled out here. So and that's what these tags are here on the right hand side. So these are those special keywords and phrases that are being pulled out. So if I needed to pull out, a certain word or phrase, then the search can go through there and find all phrases that match. And so then of course from there you can download, you can generate a report, what have you, play back the recording, whatever you need to do. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of the functionality of RingClone. The basic functionality. There are some other things like setting up special permissions with groups, email configurations, purging, the retention period, things like that. I think that's all kind of, just a matter of semantics. It's the functionality there is kind of the same across the board as probably what you see in other products. Ours might be a little bit different. We can dig into the details of that if necessary, but I think the basic functionality is just kind of that, what I showed you. So if you guys have any other questions, or if you do want to dive a little bit deeper into any of these features, I'll be happy to jump on another call with you all and go through those. Just let me know. You can reach me at support@ringclone.com. One thing I do want to point out is the pricing, and that is listed on our pricing page. The pricing is primarily just driven by the volume of calls that we process for your account, and so we do a maximum items per day within a month. So it's kind of like the highest level of your call volume in that month. That determines what the price is, and it's kind of listed here. We have a couple of smaller tiers. I think based on what I know about you guys, it seems like you would be more high volume, so probably within the enterprise plan. So these are, once you get into higher volumes, you get a lower price. But just as an example, if your company is doing 1,000 calls a day across the board, all users, and that's probably kind of low for what your company is, I would think. But just as an example, 1,000 calls max per day, for a month, that would be a cost of $69 per month, and that's across the board for all users, not per user. 10,000 would be more along the lines of $690. Actually, you start getting into lower price points here, so it'd be more like $603. Would be the cost for that. Just as an example, and that is, and this also gets into the storage component. So if that is considering you hosting storage, we kind of cater to that. Most of our customers do that, so we just kind of, that's kind of our main price point right there. But if you wanted us to host, you don't want to mess with that, like I said, we can definitely do that. There's just that extra cost like I talked about earlier, and this is what that cost is. It's essentially, we just charge $34.99 per terabyte per month. So, and the amount of terabytes can just be determined by a number of factors like your call volume, length of calls, what your retention period is, and things like that. But $34.99 per terabyte, on top of our base cost. And feel free to go to our website, ringclone.com, and check this out as well. And then here's the cost. I think we saw that before, of transcription services. So, like I said, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to your Ring Central rep or reach out to me. I'll be happy to help. Thank you.